Can you hear me now? All right, now you can hear me. It's loud. I'm gonna turn me down a little bit. Okay. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna get to as many pictures as I can. I only have about 15 minutes to edit. So just to do this quickly, I'm gonna be using my Photoshop actions. Here it's just they're basically like shortcuts that you can use to edit. I won't be using completely. Hey everyone. I won't be using them for everything, but they just are like little shortcuts that make things a little easier since I don't have a ton of time. My youngest is sick, so she's only napping for very short periods of time. So let's get started. So for this image, the first thing you see is that the white balance is slightly off, not like horrible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to correct the white balance. And so I corrected the white balance so you can see that that kind of got rid of that yellow cast that was there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to these one-click fixes down here, and I'm going to go ahead and press play. So that is light and bright. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go here where it, I want to add just a little bit more contrast to the product itself. So I'm going to go to paint on contrast. I'm going to press play. And what I need to do with this, because it's a paint on one, I'm going to use my brush tool over my layer mask here. And my brush opacity is 20%, and then I need to make sure that I have a white brush. So I just press D on my keyboard, which reset my brushes. And now I'm going to paint over the doll itself, which is, you can see over here in the layer mask, if you're looking right here, as I'm painting over this, it's adding some contrast here just to the doll. And it's pretty subtle, but you can kind of see it's making her stand out a little bit more. And you can see when I turn it off, she's a lot more kind of like muted, and then she has a little bit more contrast. That's a little bit too bright. I'm going to bring it down just slightly by lowering the opacity. If you guys have any questions as I'm going through this, go ahead and ask them in the comments, and I'll try to answer as I go along. And then the very final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to paint some vibrant color, which is going to, it works basically the same way with the white brush. I'm going to go over the product itself and just give that a little bit more pop. So just to see the before and after here, we're going to group these together. So this is, so this was the before, and then this is the after. And then if I wanted it, this photo actually looks a little slightly out of focus, but sometimes Facebook really compresses things and makes things look silly. So I don't know if that's from Facebook or if the picture is actually a little out of focus. But I am going to add a crisp finish to this right here. I'm just going to press play, and that's just going to make everything a little sharper. So you can see that really made everything a lot crisper. Here's the before, and then there's the after. And I can zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little better. And as you can see, this is pretty pixelated because Facebook likes to compress things. But this was the before, and then this is the after. You can see how it really just crisps up, those edges up. All right, so that is the first one. Let's go over to this one. So for this one, I am going to, so the background looks a little dark. I know she said that the colors on this one are pretty spot on. So I think I'm going to do, let's see. But I mean, it looks pretty good to me. I'm going to do the light and bright here, which I think lightens up the background a lot and makes it look pretty spot on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over this layer mask, and I'm going to select my round brush like I did before, but instead of, because my layer mask right here is white, so what I want to do is conceal. So black conceals with the layer mask. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to press X on my keyboard. That's going to change my foreground and my background color. So now it is black, and I'm going to take my black brush and I'm actually going to paint with it over the product itself here. And my brush is only about, let's see, it's at 20%, so it's just lightly painting this on. And I apologize, I couldn't find my actual mouse, and so I have like this trackpad thing that I actually kind of hate, and it's not very easy to use. But that's just going to take that that effect of the light and bright, and it's going to take it off of the colors, which are going to make, so this was like the before and this is the after. You can see that it, by painting that off, it's really kept those colors pretty crisp. And colors, I did revise the actions. So if you already have the actions, they are uploaded to, if you purchase them from my website, then they are uploaded, and you'll get an email. The email is scheduled, and so it should like go out, but it doesn't send them like all at once, because I think that like probably sets off spam filters or something. So you will get an email that just says, hey, the actions are updated, go ahead and download them. But yes, I did update them. And I did change some of the names, but they all kind of work the same. I was trying to make the names more obvious, because some people got kind of confused on what things did. So I just tried to make it more obvious. So instead of like, I had one that was called like Let There Be Light. So instead of Let There Be Light, I changed it to Fix Underexposure to make it more obvious. Okay, so back to the image. All right, so that added some light to it, but we brushed it off, so we kept the colors the same. And then there are some highlights here. And this is actually a new action that I just added to this, and it is paint off highlights. So the way this works, we're going to press play. We're going to use our brush, again, a white brush, because our layer mask is black, as you can see. But if the color seems off when you paint it on here, you can sample the actual color. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sample the color of the product. To do that, I'm going to double click here, and then it's going to bring this eyedropper off, and I'm actually going to sample the color that I'm trying to fix. So I'm sampling the color of the glasses here because I'm fixing that reflection. Now I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. I still have my opacity at 20%, and we're going to just paint over. I'm going to bring the opacity up to 60 actually, because I think, and I need my, oh, that's why it's not working, because my brush is black. Okay, I was like, why is it not working? I have been up with the baby all night, folks. Bear with me. So now I'm going to paint over those highlights there and just kind of make them a little less noticeable. You can see that that just kind of toned them down, so your eye isn't going right to that bright spot. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play that crisp finish, which is just going to sharpen the edges. And you can see, I really like it here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it really makes the pattern of the fabric pop. So let's look at the before and after of that one. So this was the before, and this is the after. All right, let's go to this one. So this one, we have a little bit of like a situation where like the background's lighter. So like your camera exposed for like the overall image. So you have like a backlighting situation. So I'm actually not going to use an action for this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a fun little trick here. I'm going to go into quick mask mode. So quick mask mode is over here, and you can see here that if I click on it, it's going to it kind of changes and activates, but I'm going to double click on it just so You can see I'm going to change this to selected areas. I'm going to change you can change your color to whatever. I like my color to be green though. I just updated, so I have to switch this, and I'm going to make the opacity 50. So the color indicates the selected area, so the area that I want to change, and then my color is green, and this is just going to highlight it for me. Another way to enter quick mask mode is to press Q on your keyboard. So you can see as I press Q, it either activates it or deactivates it. So now I'm in quick mask mode. My layer, the other way that you know you're in quick mask mode is going to make the layer green over here. So I'm going to highlight the area that I want to change with my quick mask mode. And you can even do this with like actions too. This is just a way, because a lot of times when you are making an edit, if you're changing something like with an adjustment layer, it changes the whole image. And so sometimes it can be hard to determine like how high or how far you need to go because it's affecting the entire image. Well, this makes it so it's just going to affect the part of the image that you want to change. So to exit quick mask mode, we're going to press Q on our keyboard. And why did it not make a selection? Oh, it did. I just had the opacity of my brush so low that it didn't make a difference. So another thing, oh, like I said, up with a baby all night, folks. Okay, so let's, you want to make sure that the opacity of your brush is 100. So we're going to go back into quick mask mode. Let me make my selection again. Oh, it's actually, that makes sense. It's brighter now. Okay. Okay, so make your selection, press Q, it's going to exit quick mask mode. You should have these little marching lights like that, not marching lights, marching ants. Now we're going to go and we're going to make our adjustment layer that we want. And I'm going to go to the curves adjustment layer, and you can see that the parts that I selected are white and then everything else is black here in my layer mask. And now I'm just going to raise my curves up a little bit and just add the brightness exactly where I want it. And then if I went a little too far, you can see I have a little bit of haloing. I can just reverse my brush to black. I'm going to make it a little smaller and then just erase the areas where I went a little bit too far. Here. And then if I need like a little bit more light on her face, again, I can enter that quick mask mode, get just her face, and then add another adjustment layer. So this is kind of a way to kind of build up your effect too. So I would start with the largest area that you want to fix, and then as you start with the largest area to do like the overall, and then as you go down to the smaller areas that you're fixing. And then the last thing I'm going to do is kind of go into those eyes, because when we take pictures, our eyes get kind of so we're going to go just over the eyes and brighten those up a little bit. I don't want to go too far. So we can just, and then if I wanted, I could, yeah, I'm going to do the crisp finish here too, just to sharpen it a little bit. That makes it pretty sharp. Again, Facebook really compressed these images, so the edits aren't as good as they would be on your actual like computer, because you would have like the full image. So here's before and after, and really just added some brightness to her. Okay, and I hear my daughter starting to stir, so this is going to be my last one. So on this one, what I want to do is I'm going to fix the background here. Oh, I don't think she's going to let me. All right. Give me 1 second. I'll get her. Okay. Yeah, say hi, everyone. Mama. Yeah. All right. So to fix the edges, so we have this area here where the edges are kind of not going all the way to the end. So one way that you can, so I'm just going to show you one way that you can fix a background. I'm not necessarily going to do this, but so if you wanted to stretch out your background, I'm using the Liquify tool under your filter menu. You can choose Liquify, and you can actually use that to kind of expand a background. So you can see that I'm just using the Liquify tool, and it's just stretching those areas out. And it's filling in the area where the background didn't quite go all the way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click OK here. So you can see that that expanded the background. Since this is a white background, I'm going to go to, I have some white background tools. The first one I'm going to do is press play Pop Whites. And we're going to use the white dropper here. So you can see that that really pops the white background a lot. And then if I needed to further make the background white, I would use my white and whites brush. And I'm going to go down to like 40%, and we'll paint this here. And I think the Pop Whites pretty much took care of it. But the great thing about this brush is you can go over the colors and it really doesn't affect the colors. Now, sometimes now with the pink cup, it does affect it a little bit because it's kind of a lighter color. So what I could do with that is just brush this off, or just be a little bit more careful with my masking and make sure I don't go over. So I'm going to just go back here and brush it back off. But you can be a little bit more careful. But for most colors, unless it's like a really light color, it's not going to affect it. And you can see it didn't really do anything to the gray cup. So the background should be pretty white then, but if I need to check my background to make sure it's perfectly white, I can go up to my preferences in Photoshop, and I can go to the interface preferences, and I can change my my background color to a custom color, and I can select my custom color here, and we can make it white. Whoops, my daughter's pressing keys. And I'm going to get rid of the drop shadow here so it's not there. And now you can see that, yes, the background is perfectly white because I have a perfectly white background, and it completely fades into the background. So that's one way to kind of check that. Now, there are some areas here of the cup that are a little, we have that highlight fix. So we could do the highlight fix. We could also use the burn brush. So I'm going to go ahead and play the burn brush here. So the burn brush, you want to, so there is a dodge and burn tool right here. Dodge and burn tool in Photoshop. Don't ever use that tool. It's a destructive tool. So we don't want to use that tool. It's destructive, and if you make a mistake, you have to either like undo a million times, or you have to completely start over. So we don't want to do that. We want to use something non-destructive like an adjustment layer. So that's what this tool does. So I'm going to click over my layer mask. I'm going to switch my brush to white. I'm going to make my opacity like 10%, and then we're going to use that over this, and then that's going to darken the areas where there is the highlight, and just kind of you can see that it just kind of makes it so it's not quite so noticeable. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to change, before I forget this, I'm going to go back and change my color here. Not black. Gray. Okay. So let's just select all of these. Whoops. So here we go. The before and after. So, so that's gonna be my last one because my daughter's awake now, and it's hard to edit with one hand because I'm holding her. So, I will, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will try to hop back in, probably like Monday or Tuesday, and do some more editing and teach you guys some more tricks in Photoshop. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.